guys. We will get started. I mean, I think something that I'm going to kind of kick us off here. You can see our panelists up here. I'm really excited. Our prep session was very energetic and a lot of different perspectives. The thing I'm loving about today so far, and as we kick off this panel, is the human element that we're all talking about. You notice we haven't really talked about deep technology, right? We're talking about the human element, and I think that's the next phase of where AI is going. And I also think Terry brought it up this morning around governance, right? We want to make sure that security leaders have governance that is built for physical security, right? You don't want somebody handing you governance that says you have to build it this way when they've never lived in your shoes. And so I think that's a really important element. And that human component and the human readiness and how you ready your teams are going to be really important. So brain fry is the topic here. And I think, to get us started, we, by the way, my agents, I want to tell you, my agents are the Golden Girls. So for those that know that show, Dorothy, Blanche, Rose, all that. So with that said, I want to start with like a myth reality. And we're going to go through talking myths and realities with the panelists here. And each brings a really unique perspective. And I'm going to start with Terry because she delivered a great message today. Terry, instinct erosion is a personal failing. Some officers are just more susceptible. What do you think? Is that a myth or reality?
Myth.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Yes. Good.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you want me to elaborate?
Yes, I would love for you.
Because we all know I like to talk.
But we have the buzzer, the security buzzer now.
Yes. So I say it's not an individual. It's first transparency, and it starts from the leadership, and we all defer to the leadership. And it's not based off an individual. We do what our leaders do, and hence that's why we have to be transparent about it. Because if our leaders are using AI tools, and they're letting us know, and they're using it ethically, then we will use it ethically. And it also relates to where we are in our career, because a veteran is going to be like, their instincts are going to be well formed, and they're going to rely on their instincts before they're going to rely on some tool that just came about a couple years ago. Whereas someone who's newly into their field are going to have less confidence, and they're going to buy into the crap that is coming out of the models. And they're going to use that if their leaders are not telling them something different. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, the idea that more tools are being thrown at people and teams, whether you're in security or other, that's where that brain fry comes in, right? More tools doesn't mean more efficiency. It doesn't mean less risk, right? So that instinct, we still need all as humans to have that instinct and be able to, so the myth is, right, that it doesn't help our instinct. Right?
And we don't have to use all the tools.
Correct.
I mean, we have analogies, right? So there's plenty of tools at Lowe's, but we all have our favorites. Like, I like the DeWalt tools. Like, I'll go straight to the DeWalt before I go to other tools because it's a recognizable brand. Yeah. And in the same way that we all go to our favorite AI tools.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. I want to jump into the next one. I'm going to kind of move around a little bit differently than what I already told these guys I would do. I want to go to Veronica because her background is just amazing, and I think she brings the legal element into the discussion, the government policy. And so I think, if everyone is the myth is, if everyone is moving this fast on AI, the risks must be worked out. Someone's going to fix it. Veronica, what do you think? Is that a myth or reality?
That would be amazing, but yeah, very, very much a myth. I thought it was an interesting question. It kind of reminds me of back with the early days of anything to do with cybersecurity, where everyone had their cell phones, laptops all over the place, passwords 1, 2, 3, and then over time there was this, we have to bolt on additional security each time something went wrong in a very ad hoc way. And I think, unfortunately, as the lawyer in the room that's seeing slowly bits and pieces go wrong in all kinds of ways, I'm seeing the same thing here, where there's this massive push that I think you're all seeing in your organizations to use these efficiency tools, and then we'll figure out the risks around it afterwards. So if I have 30 more seconds on the buzzer, I think like my key, from seeing all the things that go wrong, I think my sort of key 3 things for this group is like there are the 3 main levers for like managing, especially the AI brain fry risk, and that's the contract, so what it says about how your data is being used. Your configuration, that was mentioned a few times. So the one thing I've seen way too many times is when the public instance of your tool looks exactly the same as your own, secured version, so employees are accidentally leaking all kinds of data. And then policies, so training and the human element that we've all been talking about. And even for your own, again, sorry, lawyer mode, but for your own company protection, just having those written in place. The other scary side of some of these interesting like AI transcription tools you're seeing is, of course, like consent laws. People are right and left like recording people without giving them notice. Big legal no-no. So if you can document, if you have those tools, how they should be used, if an employee makes a mistake, at least you have that written down and part of the training.
Yeah. Philip, so AI is going to flag everything, right? It's going to tell us what's wrong. It's going to tell us about all the risks.
Supposedly.
And it's, of course, going to tell us the truth. So what do you think about that? Is that a myth or reality? And I'd love for you to add on what everybody has said.
I will use a stronger word than myth. No, anyone that's expecting AI to resolve everything and basically pull up everything, that's just not the case. And if that's how it's being used, then, sorry, you shouldn't be using it at all. It's too much of a risk. At the end of the day, AI is an amplifier. That's all it is. It's another tool that we need to utilize and embrace. And anyone that's saying, no, we don't want to use AI, I'm sorry, again, they're wrong. We can use it. We can use it in our daily lives. We can use it in work. We can use it in so many different things. But then you've got to validate it, exactly what you mentioned before in your keynote. You've got to validate and check everything that's being said. With my team, quite a few different people, are using different tools. And when I get sent things to approve, my first question is, where was this validated? If I get any kind of response, like, then it's immediately a strike through. Go back to the drawing board. You've got a situation where AI can take a brain dump. And I know a lot of people that will brain dump into an AI tool and give a summary, so it helps organize their thoughts, and then they put it into context. And that's where I see the biggest benefits. Because, again, with the brain fry that we have, there's so many tools, so much information we're dealing with, so many processes we're trying to work through on a daily basis, and especially as security leaders, there's so many decisions that need to be made constantly. Now, if you can brain dump, organize your thoughts, and use a tool to do that, it works.
Isam, so we talk about human in the loop, human on the loop, being able to verify and validate. And so I think the myth is that, in a live incident, for example, the tool will always be right? So what do you think about that, myth or reality?
Oh, absolutely, it's always right. And that's it, end of story, guys, good night. One of the challenges with any tool, it doesn't even matter if it's like Microsoft Word, is the user also needs training on how to take that tool and interpret the data that's coming out of it, but how do I actually use that for my purpose? So if you introduce a brand new tool for anything in your companies today, go ahead and think about any new tool that you're bringing in, a new CRM, ERP, doesn't matter what it is. If the users aren't properly trained on how to implement it within their perspective and roles, they'll use it wrong. Or like a fully capable system that can launch a rocket and take you to space, but the person only knows how to turn the light on or turn the sounder on. That's all they ever know how to do. So tools in the right hands, but with the wrong training, will also just fail either way. The alert coming in and not knowing what to do with it, or in this case, data coming in and not knowing that I'm supposed to take the next step with that information, and where do I place it? Especially if you have a tech stack or an AI stack or a workflow stack of this, then, and else, that is going to keep you safe, but otherwise it's 100% a myth and it'll stay that way.
Yeah. And I think, we think, if everybody, one other myth is if everybody's trained, everybody's going to use it properly, and everybody's going to use it the way it should be, and that brain fry is solved. I'd love to just get your take across the panel on what steps do we need to take as security leaders to make sure our teams are ready. They have the soft skills, they have the instinct. We're changing jobs here, right? We're changing not necessarily what security's role is, but how we deliver that without overusing tools and everything getting thrown at you, right? As they say, right, you slow down to go faster, right? I think we're at that moment in time, and luckily security is fairly slow in terms of shifting technology, so that's a good thing, I think. But I'd love to get the panel's take on that around developing that human readiness, soft skills, and kind of a little bit of a lightning round here, because I'd love to hear the take. So I'm going to go to Veronica on this one.
I think a lot of the emphasis that we've heard about the importance of like the human brain and not in this sort of fake competence that you feel when you use the AI tools versus like understanding what it is used for, like that emphasis throughout training and how we talk within our organizations about really the efficiency tool. Do I have time for one anecdote thrown in this? So I was at a roundtable that I thought was a really good example of this issue, where it started out with like the CFO saying, "Sorry, security team, like now we can code everything ourselves. I can even create programs, so like we don't need you guys anymore." And his response was, "Oh my gosh, you're probably just replicating like open source code and creating all these problems. However, like I don't really need you guys because I can just create a board presentation and pull up all the numbers. What do I need the whole like CFO team for?" Then the CEO jumps in and says, like, "What are you talking about? It's not just about putting the numbers correctly. It's about getting to know people. However, lawyer in the room, I can just pull up a contract." So you could just see this going around. And I think it was just a good highlight of like, if you speak to the expert, they will point out the limitations. It can be efficient, but you still need that relevant expertise.
Yeah. Philip. Lightning round.
I slowed down there.
If you need another second, I can.
No,
give it to
it's-
Terry.
I-
I know
I'm
she's
thinking-
always got something in her brain.
I want to get it in before she starts because no, from my point of view, it goes back to having the introduction gradually, making sure the infrastructure is there, and it's different by department. At the end of the day, it's not a change of personnel. It's an additional skill set that you need to adopt. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. That's how I think it should be addressed. That you're going to learn gradually. You're not going to take anything at face value.
And I thought Philip brought up a point when we talked about vendors as well, and making sure that your vendor landscape is helping you on this movement, right? For human readiness, you need to rely on your vendors to bring in training, and they're going to help them on their products or services or whatever it may be. But I think that vendor piece is really important. Who you surround yourself with, right? We're in good company today, but who you surround yourself with is really important. Right?
Definitely. I mean, the comment you made it earlier in your keynote as well. How many of you will only work with a single supplier, single supply chain route?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone in this room would, because, pardon my language, they're going to get screwed.
Yeah.
So why should you work with only one AI tool or only one response? You've got to assess everything. It's just human nature.
Yep. Terry, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, with related to the security, give them a raise because you just increased their job by 25% or more. And make sure that you give them training and make it formal and organized and give them the respect to let them know that you've just turned them into a very different kind of leader.
Yeah. Isan.
Well, I think three things jump at me is number one is how are most people getting trained right now? TikTok, YouTube Shorts. So they're not paying attention long enough to actually learn what they're learning. And if that's how they're learning, we have to kind of, I don't want to say stoop to that level, but we have to kind of re-engage how we are taking it to them. A point Terry just made is then what is their current job? If you're adding another tool to it, even if it's just AI to amplify what they're doing and automate what they're doing, they have to learn something brand new and still do their day job. They still have to actually do what they're supposed to be doing today while learning. And that's the slowdown that we still need to make in that perspective, that if you're training and adding another layer, you need to understand what you already put on their plate first. We never take the plate off, right? We never tell them that you could take 3 weeks off and learn this and come back. We tell them, keep doing what you're doing and learn this at the same time. I go back to the analogy of the receptionist who's actually a security guard. And while they're too busy data entering people in for visitor management, the person with the gun walks in, he could be smiling and waving and walk right past because the training didn't match the actual state of what they have to do every day. That's where that brain fry really comes in. You're telling a human to multitask way beyond our capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing a quick time check. I haven't heard the buzzer yet, so, right? I did get extra 5, yeah, we got extra 5 minutes, yeah. The big boss said.
Just glowing light.
One thing I wanna do is quick takeaways from each person. You all have such amazing experience, and when it comes to brain fry, we talk about that human readiness, right? The takeaway here: human readiness, the technical capability, the soft skill development, and I just love to hear your takeaway that you want the audience to walk away with, your quick tip, and it's going to be quick. So who wants to start? I'm going to call on Isam.
Lightning round, gotta be quick. Takeaway is to invest in your people first and foremost, before the technology, before the innovation, because you may have certain capabilities. It's getting a Marine to come down and work for you, but then you're making them do sales, and they're a technical expert on breaching.
Yeah. Veronica.
Say bring the full team to the table, no silos. This is a big change. We need to make sure we capture all the risks.
And always talk to your legal department. Okay, Philip.
Know what you're asking for. At the end of the day, just because it's a trend, just because everyone's doing it, doesn't mean you should be doing the same thing in the same way at the same time.
Yep. And Terry.
Diversity, diversity, diversity.
Yeah. I love the know what to ask for. Because I think what you're seeing in organizations, larger organizations, is IT or new AI teams are all getting the funding, and security's not getting the funding. And so now you got to jump into that game, because you need to ready your teams, you need to ready your technology, and really start thinking differently than we have before. So I want to I saw a quote, and I want to read this because I think it might resonate with some. It was from Brene Brown. So this isn't a therapy session right now, but listen carefully, because daring leadership means building systems that reflect our bravest selves. When things get tough, when there's failure, setback, or disappointment, it's deeply human to want to disconnect and pull away from uncertainty and discomfort. That's exactly why we must design systems that call us collectively into courage and connection, even when our instinct is to turn away. So I think that resonates a lot with security leaders and our approach and what's happening in the AI segment. So, time? Okay, I thought so. I want to thank all the panelists, and please, say hello to them today. They're all amazing. Thank you.